Hi there, Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk's Bounty video, and welcome to episode 194 of Ask Bossk Bounty. This is the weekly Q&A series that drops every Sunday, where I take your questions from the comment section below and do my best to answer them. So if you do have a question for next week's episode and you want to be featured in the video, then please leave that question in the comment section of this video, and hopefully you'll be featured next week. With all that being said, we do have loads of great questions to go through this week, so if you do happen to enjoy the video, hit the like button down below and also subscribe if you're new to the channel. But before we do get on to the first question, I just wanted to point out this figure here. This is HK50. I got him from Tungori. I usually do whole videos about Tungori when I do like an order of like maybe 3 or 4 figures, but he actually came on his own. And I just thought it was interesting because obviously we've got the new HK87, so you know, HK droids. But that one was a builder droid in the Legacy collection, and I do have various parts of him, but I never completed him. So I thought instead of tracking down the remaining parts, I'm just going to buy him in one go off Tungori, and that's what's turned up, so that's pretty cool. And the first question this week is Dwayne Cook, and he says, another great video, Tim. Question for next time. I noticed underneath the robes of the new Book of Boba Fett Bib Fortuna that he has pants and boots that look very similar to the Rancor Keeper. With his larger build, do you think that maybe they will use this sculpt in the future to give us the Rancor Keeper? Keep up the good work. Appreciate all you do for the TVC community. So yeah, this is something that I pointed out in my review of the Boba Fett's throne room, because I did open the figure of the Bib Fortuna, and you are absolutely right. Underneath the skirt, the legs do look very similar to the Rancor Keeper, or something that they could use for the Rancor Keeper. I'm not too sure if that's an indication that we will get a Rancor Keeper in the future, because at the end of the day, you know, if they do have these Legacy Collection molds, which they claim they do, then for me, all they need to do is re-release the Legacy Collection version of the Rancor Keeper and be done with it. I'm not too sure if that's going to happen now, because if they would have done it, you know, this year, the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi would have been the ideal year to do it. But yeah, you are absolutely right. Bib Fortuna, the fat version here, he does have those legs, which, yeah, could be used in the future. Kurt6592 says, question for next week. Do you think the Jabba is a market test for small beasts, like a Tauntaun, a Blurg, and the Wolf? I've got to say I don't think so, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, the Jabba that they're bringing out isn't really costing them any money. It's a repaint of the version that came out in the barge. So it's not like a newly tooled beast that is going to cost them a lot of money to produce. You know, it's already there for them. And also, that set is kind of like an extension to the Boba Fett's throne room. I think basically, you know, it's a way of them saying, you know, we want to sell more of the Book of Boba Fett's throne room. Here's this extension piece that you can have to make it the Return of the Jedi version. And let's face it, I think 90% of the people that have got the Book of Boba Fett throne room set at the moment have probably got a previously released Jabba on there already anyway. I would suggest probably about 90% people maybe. I could be wrong, but that's definitely what I've done for sure. Noctilia2290 says, hey Bossk, as much as I like the artwork card backs for animated figures such as Fives and Echo, I would love to see Hasbro do a photo shoot of an accurate live action cosplayer for the card backs. What are your thoughts? Or would you rather them take an image from the shows? So yeah, I mean, I've just done a review for the Grand Admiral Thrawn figure. That's available to my Patreon supporters at the moment. It's part of the new wave, and in that video I talk about the card back and the fact that it's obviously a Rebels card back with an animated image of Thrawn, but then the figure doesn't really represent that. I'm not really too bothered about that. I just wish there was some level of consistency, because I think they've done half and half before with the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin from the Clone Wars. They were like animated, but then they plonked the real life actors' heads on the images. And then other times they've done completely animated. And as you mentioned with the Fives and Echo, it's almost like an artist's impression, isn't it? So I wish there was sort of some kind of consistency about it. But in the main, I don't really mind sort of like cartoon drawings or animated drawings on Vintage Collection card backs, so long as they match the source that they've come from. Angel Para says, question, will Hasbro ever make the Hammerhead Corvette from Rogue One a Star Wars story? We've seen this vehicle in Star Wars Rebels, Rogue One, but why does Hasbro not make this vehicle? Since the vehicle has not been made before, do you think they'll ever make this vehicle come to life for toy collectors? I would absolutely love to say that they would do something like that, but I've got to say it's probably unlikely. I think when they're looking at vehicles, especially newly tooled vehicles, they're either the main vehicle of the main character in one of the shows, like the N1 Starfighter for example, or they're a vehicle that allows for lots of figures to be involved. So if you're looking at the Imperial tank from Rogue One, you're looking at the transport maybe from the Mandalorian, and also the skiff as well from Return of the Jedi. those vehicles of that sort of size always tend to be vehicles that you can put lots of figures on, or set a diorama up with that vehicle as the centerpiece, if you know what I mean. I think with the Hammerhead, although it's cool, I don't really think you ever get to see the pilots of it, for example, or the interior of it. At least I don't think you do in Rogue One. And, you know, it looks cool and everything, but in terms of it being like something in a toy line, I just can't see them doing it personally. Fernando Mato Robles 2699 says, hey Tim, question for next week. What would you say the worst vintage collection figure of 2023 is? Well, I don't really want to ruin a video that I do at the end of the year where we do the sort of voting for the figure of the year and the worst figure of the year, but I'm going to cheat right now and say that it's Captain Hauser or whatever his name is. At the end of the day, they just renamed him, didn't they? I can pick that figure because he was put out in a wave in the main line. Originally that figure was in a 4-pack of Bad Batch characters with the incorrect name, and all they did was change the name and put him out again, and it was a completely wasted slot in my opinion, so I'm going to pick him. SC Art 5408 says, hey boss, great Q&A this week. Question for next week, with Motti being released in the new 4-pack, do you think Hasbro will take the opportunity to make other officers in the Death Star briefing room? Yularen, Tag and Bass to name a few, and would it be a pack you'd be interested in, or would you prefer they focused on getting us some officers from Andor such as Dedra? Well, I've got to say, to begin with, I want them to do all of them. You know, when you're talking about Dedra, she is definitely one that I would love to see in the line, and a female officer would open up for a lot of other characters as well. What you're talking about, the Imperial officers there from the briefing room specifically, that is something that I touched on in my video review of the Imperial Officer 4-pack, which is on the channel at the moment. There is Motti right there. And I just want them, again, to be consistent and understand what these Army Builder 4-packs are for. You know, are they for army building? And therefore you should just have 4 generic officers in there that you can head swap and maybe put some spare heads in there and things like that. Or are you going to be putting named characters in there? And if you are going to be putting named characters in there, perhaps you should put 4 named characters in there that are never going to get their own card back. They're never going to be released in the line any other way. And then you could have Yularen and Tag and some of the others and things like that. That's my opinion on it. But yes, I would love to see Yularen in the line. I would have much preferred him over that Cal Kestis in disguise figure, for example. But yeah, that's my opinion on those 4-packs and the Imperial offers specifically. Andrew Cook says, hey boss, question for next week. Now that we've gotten the main Rebels crew in TVC, what other Rebels characters would you like to see in the line that you think might be easy enough for them to do? They've done enough different Mandalorians that Fen Rao and Sabine's mother Ursa wouldn't be too hard, and we're just a Death Star droid repaint away from AP5. Your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, you've listed some pretty good ones there. Fen Rao, he had a big part to play in the series. I would like to see him in the line, most definitely. But the one for me, and I've said this before on other videos, it's Agent Callas, and I think he is achievable. At the end of the day, he's pretty much an Imperial officer, isn't he? He's got the body armour, and that would open up for a General Veers in the future. It would open up for a Admiral Thrawn with the armour on from Rebels. So that's the one I think they should do, because one, it's easy for them to do, and also it opens up other characters as well. Dean Backhouse says, hi boss, question for next week. I received the Imperial 4-pack and love it. One of the best for me so far. I also bought an old Saga line red protocol droid that I don't remember from The Empire Strikes Back, although I've watched it countless times, but I must have blinked. They also featured in the Ahsoka show on Corellia. This got me thinking, could we get a Protocol 4-pack including a metallic blue, silver, red, etc., and then get a much needed C-3PO on his own card? They'd essentially get 5 figures from the same mould on those 2 releases alone. Vac metal can be done as well, as we've seen in the retro set and the HasLab Grogu. Cheers. So Dean, yep, that is a great idea, but I've got to say it would probably be done the other way around. So in other words, they would do C-3PO first and then use him for other characters like, you know, 4-packs and things like that you've seen. The red one that you're talking about, I believe, is R3PO, and he's in the Echo Base hangar, I want to say. I think he's somewhere around there. But anyway, yeah, C-3PO, I've got him there on the card back. That's the one that we've got at the moment with the Empire Strikes Back card. Of course, we need a new C-3PO on the Star Wars card, and I've got a feeling it might happen next year. We're getting that sort of original trilogy wave next year, aren't we? With Vader, the Stormtroopers coming back. They pipelined Leia. They pipelined R2-D2. Hopefully he'll be a new R2-D2. And then if you look on Jason from Yakface's website, under his rumoured TVC items, then he does say C-3PO as well. So you've got to think that that'll be an all-new C-3PO, because they definitely can't go back to that one. And then if they do a new C-3PO on that Star Wars card, That ticks off an original 96 and also opens it up for the other protocol droids that we've seen in many of the shows on Disney+. Chris Sadolski says, hey BB, great show. Look forward to watching your vids on Sunday night before I go to bed. Good stuff. Question for next week. Would Hasbro ever make a Bacta tank for a deluxe Boba Fett or an accessory for a Palace playset? Thanks. I love the idea, Chris, but I'm not too sure if it would be done by Hasbro. I do like the idea though. I mean, of course, we did see Fett in his Bacta tank quite a lot. And obviously we've got Chrysanthemum as well, and they have the fight around it and everything. So I think it might be a little bit too big for one of those deluxe packs, and I think we're sort of past doing like bigger accessories like that unless they're in like a playset or something. And considering we've already had the Boba Fett's throne room and we didn't get it in that, then I just don't think we will, unfortunately. Damien Addington says, hello there Tim, I have a question for next week. Is there any chance that Hasbro will make a 4-pack of Astromech droids? Granted, they will have to be obscure ones, but still, thank you in advance. So as I mentioned before about C-3PO, you know, we're getting an R2-D2. We don't know what that R2-D2 is going to be yet, if they're going to be using an older mold or if they're going to be doing a new one like they have done with the Black Series. And if it is a new R2-D2, then I could see lots of possibilities going forward for other Astromech droids, including what you say there, like 4-packs and things like that. There's loads of Astromech droids that they can get to, not just from previous films and shows, but also new ones. If you look at Mandalorian Season 3, you've got Grief Karga's droid there. I think he may have been pipelined for the Black Series already, so that would be a good one for TVC. You know, that's just one example. So, yeah, I don't see any reason why not. I mean, they used to do that with Entertainment Earth exclusives, didn't they? With like 4 packs of Astromech droids, so I'm sure they can bring that sort of thing back. User KM8DN8QY1Z. There you go. Evening Tim, do you think now there's a bit of a wait until the next Star Wars media that the 96 will get a bit of love? I recently bought Bossk and IG-88 from the Vintage Saga line and was hugely impressed by the sculpts. I think it's high time we got these in TVC along with Zuckuss to fulfill the ESB hunters. So we already know that the original 96 will be at least a very small focus next year in terms of one of the waves at least. As I mentioned before, we've, you know, pipelined R2-D2, Darth Vader, the Stormtrooper coming back, which was originally a Walmart exclusive. They've pipelined Princess Leia. We've got the rumour of C-3PO. So there's a kind of sort of focus on those. Above and beyond those, I don't really know what else they're going to be doing. If you look at the other pipelines that we've got for next year, you know, it all centres around the new media. It's specifically the Mandalorian with various different Mandalorian repaints, even another Mandalorian himself, another Grogu. You know, it all seems quite repetitive, doesn't it? So that's a little bit worrying for me. But in terms of the original 96, at least we know we're getting those. We'll have to see what else they do, if anything at all. Coog6492 says, question for next week. Do you think there is a correlation between figures the community likes and the number of likes a video receives? And the inverse, do viewers thumbs down products the community dislikes? I'm not really too sure why people dislike videos or hit the thumbs down on videos. At the end of the day, the creator that's created that video has obviously taken time out of their life to make that video, and yes, you don't have to like it, but disliking it, that seems a little bit odd to me, just in general. But yeah, I think there is maybe a slight correlation. I think, you know, obviously some people might sort of not like the product, and regardless of who the creator is, we'll just put a down like on it anyway. But I don't think it's really the likes and dislikes that are correlated. It's more the views, I would say. You know, when I've done a review of like a Mandalorian or a Boba Fett or a Darth Vader, for example, they've got far more views than, say, I don't know, the Tusken Warrior or something from the Book of Boba Fett. And I think, you know, these larger legacy characters that people are interested in just get more views, basically. But in terms of the likes and dislikes, I'm not really too sure what you can take from that, because there could be many reasons why people hit the thumbs down on a video. But yeah, to me it's a bit odd. Mitchell G5370 says, question for next week. Hey Tim, do you like or want to see the Power of the Force alternate cards in the Vintage Collection line for the 40th anniversary in 2024-25? I am both a carded and a loose for display collector, and I would buy one of each type of card for every single figure Hasbro makes in TVC. If they can offer Selfie Series to Black Series collectors, I don't see a reason why they could not offer Power of the Force alternate cards for those who want to buy them, even if it's for a higher price. Thanks, I'm enjoying the videos. Well, I've got to say, they probably would be a slightly higher price because you get the coin, so they've got to produce that coin, unfortunately. But would I be up for that? I've got to say, when they originally made the yak face for the barge, I kind of wanted him to be like a special case, and you know, that's the only one that had that treatment. But as time goes by, I would like to see them do more of the Power of the Force card backs, and there's certain figures that you could easily just put onto those cards, like the Luke Skywalker in his Stormtrooper outfit, for example. What worries me is if you're going to do one, then you really should be doing them all. And then you've got the problem of characters like General Lando, which we've had countless times, and we don't really want him again, do we? That one would probably peg warm, although, you know, carded collectors would want him certainly. And then, of course, you've got other figures like a Man and EV99 that would need, you know, new tooling, and I just don't think they're going to do that. So for me, it's either you do them all or you don't do them at all. I wouldn't really want them to do like 2 or 3 and then be done with it. And as I say, characters like General Lando would worry me a little bit. SBS Productions 996 says, kind of a weird question, but of all the TVC figures, what's your favourite figure based on a character you hate, and your least favourite figure based on a character you love? Again, kind of a weird question, but I hope you have a great week. I don't think it's a weird question at all, my friend. I love these types of questions because it really does get me sort of thinking about what I like and what I don't like in the line. I think hate is a bit of a strong word. I don't really hate any of the characters or the figures really, but you know, obviously there's just some that I just don't like, or I don't like as much as others. So the one that was really disappointing to me of a character that I absolutely love was this one. This is your, you know, Bespin Leia Escape. This was really badly done in my opinion. This is basically the Hoth Leia body with a different head and without the sort of over jacket. And I just thought that was a bit lazy of them for such an important character from an important scene. So, you know, that's the figure that I hate of the character that I love. And then on the opposite end of the scale, you've got Reva here. And that is a fantastic figure, really, really good. You've got soft goods, articulation galore. The head sculpt is phenomenal. It has got a great likeness. But I didn't really like the character that much, or the show that she came from, if I'm brutally honest. It was just okay. So it wasn't something I hated, but, you know, it just wasn't something that I sort of liked that much. But in terms of the figure, what a great figure. Same with the Grand Inquisitor as well. You know, was he better in Rebels than live action? This one's based on live action. The review of him is on the channel actually. I reviewed him last night, I believe. So if you haven't checked out any of my recent reviews of the officers, the New Wave figures and the Obi-Wan and Vader 2-pack, they're all on the channel for you to take a look at. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Reva for the figure that I like, but not so much the character, and Leia for the character that I really, really like, and the figure not so much. Darth Australis 6129 says, "G'day boss, question for next week. Besides the Tonica Sisters, what would your top 3 world building background figures that we need be? It feels like forever since we've got a brand new background character that wasn't a repack or retool in the TVC. Cheers." This is a really, really difficult one, and I don't think you should really discount sort of retools or kit bashes necessarily, because we have got some great figures that way. If you look at Squidhead and Velkin Tazeri and things like that, they're essentially background characters. So it's very difficult for me to pick, because there are so many that we've got, you know, in all the new series and things like that. If you even look at the original trilogy, you've got things like a Man and EV99. These ones would dual purpose basically. They would tick off the original 96 as well. So I'm always looking at that and how they can tick those off. So probably would look at the Jabba's Palace because of the throne room that we've recently got. There's some characters that are definitely missing from there, like a Man, EV99, and maybe Fozek. So there's 3 there. Dals Yahaya says, question for next week. With the new 4-pack clone troopers were pipeline that includes 1 each of the 501st and 332nd and 2 standard troopers, do you think it is okay to pack 1 each of those 2 famous battalions in the 4-pack? Collecting a squad of 501st and or 332nd troopers would be a very expensive journey. This could be the only way to get those troopers in the new body mould. For now, I wouldn't mind if they pack all of the same battalions in the same 4-pack like the 212th. What are your thoughts? Greetings from Malaysia. Wow, somebody watching from Malaysia. That is awesome. I've got to say, mate, I agree with you completely in that, you know, this is what we're talking about, these 4-packs, and I feel that they've kind of lost their way with them a little bit. I think when they pipelined that, I mentioned this in my sort of overview video of the reveals, that 4-pack for me is very strange. I think it's kind of based on the end of the Clone Wars, where you've got like 501st, a 332nd and a couple of normal clone troopers, when in actual fact you're absolutely right. I mean, very, very difficult and expensive to, you know, just get 4 501st or 4 332nd, and this is where they've lost their way with these 4-packs at the end of the day. Not only are they putting name characters in them, spoiling them a little bit, but when they don't put a name character in there, they're splitting it up with the battalions. So for me, you know, having one 501st and one 332nd in there is not great. I think the all-white clone is probably the least one that I would want out of all of those. We've already had him on the single card. You don't really see too many of the standard white Phase 2 clones in Revenge of the Sith, for example. So I don't really need too many more of those, but what I do need is I need lots of the 501st. And if they just brought out a pack of 4 501st troopers, I would buy loads of them, because that is my favourite clone, and I would like a really decent sized army of 501st. So yeah, a little bit disappointing, that pack. Not really too sure what we can do about it, apart from tell Hasbro every opportunity that we get, you know, drill home that, you know, these 4-packs, loose 4-packs should be, you know, proper army builders, very much like the Stormtrooper one at the beginning. 4 Stormtroopers, one with a pauldron. It's a removable pauldron, so you can have 4 normal Stormtroopers if you want. That's what you should do. And also, don't make them Pulse exclusives as well, where you can only buy 2 per customer and only people that have got Pulse can buy them. I mean, how's that army building? You need to make them widely available to everybody, and you just see how many you sell. You'd sell thousands and thousands and thousands of them. So that's what they need to do. Anyway, rant over. Alright then guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out my videos that I've recently uploaded for the Officer 4-pack. We've got the Obi-Wan and Vader showdown. I've also put the review up of the Inquisitor. The Thrawn video will be up in a couple of days. That's currently only available to Patreon supporters, as well as the HK87 droid will be the next one available to them as well. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter or channel member and getting my videos early, as well as other perks such as giveaways and access to the private Discord and stuff like that, then the links are in the description below. But thank you so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave your question for next week's episode, and thank you to my Patreon supporters and channel members as always. Thank you so much for watching, and we shall see you on the next one.